Daphne and Velma is a live-action Scooby-Doo spin-off film from 2018. This is directed by Susie Unessi. It's written by Colmac and Caitlin Mears. And we have Sarah Jeffery as Daphne, Sarah Gilman as Velma. And I went into this not expecting very much because it doesn't seem to have the best reception. But actually, I rather enjoyed it. I'm not considering it Scooby-Doo canon, but if you like these characters, then I think it's a nice, fun film, as long as you don't take it too seriously. And the narrative itself is pretty interesting. I won't go into any spoiler details, but Daphne and Velma are at high school, and strange things start happening. And it's affecting a particular category of students. I don't think that's maybe the right term, but it's only affecting certain students, and Daphne and Velma decide to investigate the mystery. And I think the narrative was pretty interesting. It's not the most fascinating story, but I enjoyed it enough. It worked well. The pacing was great. The progression of the narrative was fine. Obviously, there were moments that were maybe not that interesting, but for the most part, I thought it was a pretty decent story. The characters of Daphne and Velma are not too bad. I think the performances are very good. Absolutely no problems with the performances. And the characters' appearances look pretty much what I would have expected for teenage versions of Daphne and Velma. And I think their personalities are in fitting with what I would have expected, again, for the characters. So part of me had thought maybe the low rating is because the characters just don't feel like Daphne and Velma. But that's certainly not something that I perceived. So I think the characters are very well done, and then you throw in a decent narrative. It's very well filmed. I don't really have any complaints about this. I thought it was a really decent film. And I'm wondering, I haven't read any reviews about the film yet. I don't tend to read reviews before I do my own discussion because I don't want my opinions to be affected. Occasionally I will read the reviews, but I've not read anything to explain why it's got such a low rating. But if you don't like it, I'd love to know why. I think if somebody doesn't like it, that's absolutely fine. But for me personally, I thought it was pretty decent. I can't really complain. There was nothing specific that I can point to say that it didn't work well or I didn't enjoy this part. Visually, it's really stunning as well. We have a lot of bright, bold colours, very, very eye-catching. The costumes look great. The performances are good. The story works well enough, and I won't say how it concludes, but I was happy with every aspect of the narrative. Does it feel like a Scooby-Doo film? Not necessarily, and maybe that's why a lot of the ratings are potentially quite low, because people are expecting something to feel like a typical Scooby-Doo film. It doesn't. It feels like a generic mystery-based teenage film, but with two recognisable characters. So maybe that's why, I don't know. But personally, I didn't mind it. As I said, I didn't have high hopes because even though I'd not read any reviews, I did see the overall rating. For example, it has 4.2 out of 10, which is kind of a low rating. That's across 2.4 thousand reviews and ratings. But it exceeded my expectations. If you like Scooby-Doo, then I'd say definitely check out Daphne and Velma. That being said, you don't need to have ever seen any, in my opinion, any Scooby-Doo or even know who Daphne and Velma are to be able to watch this film. If you just like mystery films and you're interested in films set in high schools, but you're not that bothered about Scooby-Doo, I think it might appeal as well. And that definitely helps to highlight the fact that it doesn't really feel like a Scooby-Doo film. So I can understand why people might not love it, I guess. That being said, I personally didn't mind it. I probably would never watch it again, but I thought Daphne and Velma was okay, and if it sounds like it could appeal to you, then I'd say it's worth checking out.